You've watched the latest from the greatest productivity gurus. Listen at 2x speed, time block your calendar in 2.5-minute increments, and spend no more than 43.7 seconds on the toilet each day. But did you know the most overlooked factor that makes the biggest difference? Stay tuned to find out. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin Jubal, physician entrepreneur based in Las Vegas, formerly in plastic surgery. I've been obsessed with productivity and efficiency and time management back since 2008 when I first started college. And the really cool thing is that, like a lot of other skills in life, this is one that compounds with time. So the longer you work on it, the longer you try to hone that skill, the better you're gonna get, and your gains essentially build off of your previous gains. In other words, the sooner you start working on it, the greater yields you're gonna have. My peak in productivity, if we can call it that, was back in 2017. So I was doing the whole plastic surgery resident thing, working 80 hours a week, starting every day around 4, maybe 5 a.m. latest, and working 6 days per week. I was also concurrently building BlueLink, my first company, Med School Insiders, and then also doing the occasional 24-hour call in residency. Then you also had to study for your boards, prepare for the weekly presentations on various research topics. There was a lot. I was also balancing a long distance relationship and then exercising 5 or 6 times per week. It was just nuts. And then don't forget about also studying, because in the OR, the last thing you want to do is be unprepared for that case, not only for the patient's sake, but also for your own sake. There was a lot that went into getting to that point. And to me, that's what peak productivity looked like. I mean, now I consider it something different because of business and delegation and automation, etc. But getting so much done in so few hours was like, that's what I strived to do. But what I learned the hard way is that it's not sustainable. Back in college, I was reading Lifehacker, which was this blog that taught me a lot of the basics. And then when I was in med school, I started reading books about productivity and time management. I started going on Reddit. I started finding other resources, other blogs to really take it to the next level. And then of course, my own experimentation as well. And nowadays you have a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of YouTubers, including myself, that talk about various tactics that have worked for them. Most of this content is actually focused on the working part itself. So whether that's Pomodoro technique, which was a huge game changer back when I was in med school, or whether it's batching your emails or waking up early, there's all these different things that focus on the actual work. But people weren't talking about the other side of things. So sure, you work really hard, here's all the tactics, and sure, sleep's important, here's how you can optimize your sleep and rest and recovery. But the most overlooked factor that I'm talking about, downtime optimization. No matter how disciplined, hardworking, or gunnerish you are, you can't work every single moment from waking up until you sleep. It's just not gonna happen. And if you try, you'll notice the effectiveness of each minute sharply declines. It's natural then to have a good amount of downtime in every single day. But in these productivity circles, we don't spend enough time talking about downtime optimization. And it's when I started focusing on that downtime that I really noticed my productivity starting to reach new heights. The first consideration would be your non-negotiable tasks. So in any given day, there are certain things you have to do no matter how busy you are. You have to eat, you gotta use the bathroom, have to do your laundry, put the dishes away, and so on. When you sit down and add up all these moments together, they actually make a substantial portion of the 24 hours in a day. So let's say you're trying to sleep between 6 and 9 hours per day, then the other 15 to 18 hours, you'd be surprised how many go to these non-negotiables, whether that's commuting, hygiene, eating, whatever. We also know that after a couple hours of deeply focused, intense work, the marginal utility of each additional minute that is studied, it sharply declines. It's not gonna be nearly as effective. So back in college, I had this pre-med roommate, and he was pretty hardcore. So when it was finals week, he would not do dishes, he wouldn't shower, he just spent every moment studying, nothing else. The idea was that by spending all of his time studying, he was gonna do better in school, better on his finals. And obviously, that didn't work. What I recommend, and what I was doing instead, was to use those inevitable moments where your focus and intensity wanes to go do other necessary tasks. If I found myself sick of studying OChem, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to, then I'd go brush my teeth, I'd go shower, and by the time I came back, sat down, was ready to study, my mind was refreshed and I was good to go for another couple hours. And this strategy is just a good foundational strategy to rely on. I used it back in college and medical school and residency, and of course even now. The flip side of this is you can actually use moments when you can't do anything else to be productive. So for example, when I was at a restaurant waiting for my food to come out or waiting in line at the grocery store, I would take out my phone and then start doing Anki cards. I mean, I wasn't really enjoying myself waiting around, waiting in this grocery line, but at least that way I was able to be productive and then reduce the workload, reduce the burden for me to do things later on in the day. But this second benefit I only started noticing after I quit residency. So at that moment in 2018, I felt a lot of pressure, okay? So my parents aren't doctors, I don't come from a privileged background, I don't have that safety cushion, and I was living at home with my mom. Like, I wasn't making much money from my YouTube channel or my business at that time. And I actually do appreciate that pressure because it lit a fire under my butt, right? And I was able to really accelerate the growth of the company. And as a brief side note, I do think that this is really important, right? It's not just your circumstances, but how you choose to interpret and view those circumstances, because you can choose to view them in a way that serves you or doesn't. A lot of viewers will complain about their financial struggles, their background, or maybe they have health issues or some systemic issues. And we know that there's a lot of systemic issues in the US at least. And yes, all of those are totally valid. No one can tell you you're wrong. Yes, your family struggles, your financial struggles, those suck. And it's so much easier for your friend who had a silver spoon. Or your health issues. Yeah, that's not fair. And yes, the system definitely is not treating you as fairly as someone else. But by choosing to focus on those issues and by being kind of a victim to them, you're actually just limiting yourself. In doing this, you're playing mental gymnastics with yourself without even realizing it. The benefit you receive is that you can point the blame someplace else. You don't have to take responsibility. You don't have to take any action. The cost is that you choose to view most of these circumstances and most of your life events through this pessimistic lens, and you'll actually limit yourself in the long term. The alternative is to view those same challenges through a lens of opportunity, right? There's always a silver lining to just about everything. And this is much easier said than done. It's really not easy to do, but if you're willing to do that, it's gonna propel you much further. Anyway, so back to the business story. So I was living at home with my mom, right? And I was working legit like 100+ hour weeks, working on Med School Insiders, building the website, because I'd never built a website before, recruiting the team, doing the legal stuff. There's a lot of stuff to getting the business up and running, started, profitable. But I noticed something interesting. On the weekends, if I hung out with friends, did social activities, wasn't just buried in work for Med School Insiders, then during the next week, paradoxically, I became way more productive, way more effective. I was able to have higher levels of intensity and focus for longer periods of time. I wouldn't have to take a mental break for much longer. As you guys know, I like to create rules or guidelines to remove the need to make decisions in the future. And it also helps me avoid making bad habits. So the rule I created in this instance was, if I have any social event that I planned or was invited to on the weekend, I cannot cancel or reschedule for any reason related to work. Simple as that. And by doing this, I found myself enjoying my weekends much more. I was hanging out with friends, spending time with people I cared about, and then during the week, paradoxically, I was getting a lot more work done. Some people think the way I approach these things is too structured, too regimented. I don't actually feel that way. And sure, you can definitely argue that some people have a different preference in terms of how structured and regimented they want to be. And yeah, maybe I'm more so than the average person. I admit that. But part of it is also just something that you learn and adapt to and just get used to. So back when I was in high school, I was so disorganized, so messy. My bed was never made, clothes were all over the floor. I didn't know how to manage my time at all. But then gradually over time, I added bits and pieces here and there. The way I approach my downtime now, it doesn't require any mental effort or energy. It's just automatic. And those benefits actually translate outside of the working environment too. When I was traveling pre-pandemic to Southeast Asia, one of my friends was like, dude, how are you still pumping out videos and running your business and doing all this stuff while we're traveling? We're all doing the same activities, we're all, doing the same stuff. And he felt that there just wasn't enough time to do it all. But we all have 24 hours in a day. It's all about how you choose to use that time. Life is short and time is truly our greatest asset. Now, I don't think that you need to spend every single moment optimizing your work time and your leisure time, but by having these principles and guidelines in place, I truly believe that you can maximize your work, maximize your leisure, and live a better life. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like this one or that one. Much love, and I'll see you guys there.